Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a handful of loose change, and tossing a nickel onto the counter without a second thought. It's just 5 cents. It's a piece of metal, worn smooth by millions of hands, destined to be forgotten in a jar or traded away for a pack of gum. But what if I told you that beneath that familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson and the image of his beloved Monticello, there lies a story of a hidden anomaly, a microscopic detail that, to the untrained eye, looks like a flaw, but to the right collector, represents a fortune. We are talking about the 1984p Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that bridges the gap between ordinary pocket change and the high-stakes world of numismatic treasure hunting. This isn't just about a coin. It's about the silent history minted into copper and nickel, a story of how a standard piece of currency became a mystery that has kept enthusiasts searching through millions of coins for decades. Why would a coin produced in the hundreds of millions suddenly become the subject of intense fascination? The answer lies in the tiny, often overlooked details that define the difference between a common nickel and a legendary find. To understand the allure of the 1984p nickel, we have to travel back to the mid-1980s. The United States was in the midst of a significant shift in its numismatic landscape. The minting process had become a marvel of efficiency, churning out massive quantities of coins to meet the demands of an expanding economy. But in this rush for production, the human element, and occasionally human error, ensured that perfection wasn't always the outcome. When you look at a standard nickel from this era, you see the stoic profile of the third president of the United States, Jefferson, the architect of American democracy, staring out from a metal disc that holds no inherent value beyond its face. Yet, for collectors, the value is never in the face amount. It is in the narrative of its creation. The 1984p is particularly interesting because it hails from a period where the Philadelphia Mint was reasserting its dominance in coin production. Unlike the coins minted in Denver, which carry the D Mint mark, the Philadelphia issues are often seen as the baseline for American currency, yet they hold their own unique mysteries. Think about the sheer scale of this operation. Imagine the thunderous sound of the presses, the heat of the facility, and the relentless pace of the minting floor. Somewhere in that chaotic symphony of machinery, a die was created or pressed that would alter the fate of these specific nickels. When we talk about these coins, we are really talking about the intersection of industrial precision and the chaos of chance. Now, you might be asking yourself what exactly makes a 1984p nickel stand out. Is it the metal composition? Is it a rare minting error? The truth is often more nuanced. Collectors are always on the hunt for what they call full steps or variations in the mint mark. The detail on the reverse of the nickel depicting Monticello is notoriously difficult to strike perfectly. As the dies wear down during the massive production runs, the fine lines of the steps leading up to the estate begin to soften, losing their sharpness. Finding a specimen where those steps are clearly defined is like finding a needle in a haystack of flattened metal. This brings us to the real thrill of the hunt. Many people assume that treasure hunting requires a metal detector and a beach, but some of the most exciting discoveries happen right at your local bank. Every time you withdraw a roll of nickels, you are essentially opening a time capsule. You are holding a cross-section of American economic history, and buried within those rolls could be a 1984p that has escaped the wear and tear of circulation for 40 years, waiting for someone to notice its potential. But there is a darker, more compelling side to this. Why do we care so much about these minor variations? Why does a collector spend hours under a magnifying glass, looking for a scratch, a smudge, or a slightly misaligned letter? It's because deep down, we all want to be the one who finds the hidden treasure. We want to believe that something of extraordinary value could be sitting right in front of us, disguised as something mundane. It is the lottery of the everyday. Consider the environment in which these coins were released. In 1984, the world was a different place. The Cold War was still casting a long shadow, personal computing was in its infancy, and the economy was shifting in ways that would redefine global trade. The nickel in your hand witnessed all of that. It traveled through gas stations, grocery stores, and piggy banks. It might have paid for a soda in 1985 or a newspaper in 1992. It is a silent witness to 4 decades of change. When you hold a 1984p nickel, you are not just holding a coin, you are holding a tiny fragment of time. You are touching an object that was manufactured before the internet was a household name, before the modern digital era transformed our lives. Its rarity, not necessarily in numbers but in condition, is a testament to survival. Most nickels from that year are scratched, dented, or corroded. To find one in pristine condition is to defy the odds. It is a victory against entropy. The collector value of these coins can vary wildly, depending on the grading and the specific attributes of the strike. Some might think, it's just 5 cents, but in the world of numismatics, a 5-cent piece can sometimes command prices that would shock a casual observer. It is not about the metal it is made of. It is about the story it tells and the scarcity of its preservation. Think about the mystery of the minting process itself. How did a die become worn? How did the alignment of the letters shift? These are the questions that keep the hobby alive. Every time a new error or a unique characteristic is discovered, the history books are rewritten. It is an evolving field, one that rewards curiosity and persistence. Are you the type of person who looks at the world a little differently? Do you see the potential in the small, the overlooked, and the forgotten? If so, you are already halfway to being a great collector. The 1984p nickel is a perfect starting point, not because it is the most expensive coin on the planet, but because it represents the very essence of the hunt. It reminds us that value is often a matter of perspective, and that extraordinary things can be hidden in the most ordinary places. So, the next time you find yourself with a handful of nickels, take a moment. Look closely at the date. Check for that small p mint mark. Examine the steps of Monticello. You might just find that you're holding more than just change. You might be holding a piece of history that has been waiting decades for you to find it. The search for the elusive 1984p is a reminder that we live in a world filled with hidden treasures. Whether it is a rare coin, a misplaced document, or a forgotten piece of local history, the past is never truly gone. It is just waiting for the right person to notice it. What other stories are buried in your pocket right now? What other pieces of history are passing through your hands every single day without you realizing it? The world of numismatics is vast, complex, and deeply rewarding. It connects us to the people who came before us, to the economies they built, and to the stories they left behind. It is a hobby that teaches patience, detail, and appreciation for the craft of manufacturing. But more than that, it is a hobby that gives us permission to be explorers in our own daily lives. As you go about your week, keep your eyes open. That roll of coins from the bank, that loose change at the bottom of your purse, don't let it be just another transaction. Let it be an opportunity. Let it be a chance to connect with a story that has been unfolding for 40 years. And who knows? You might be the next person to discover a hidden gem, a piece of the 1984 legacy that turns an ordinary day into something extraordinary. After all, history isn't just written in textbooks. Sometimes it's struck in metal. It's right there, in the palms of our hands, waiting for someone to stop, look, and wonder. What will you find in your next handful of change? The thrill of the search is yours for the taking. Join the ranks of those who see beyond the face value and uncover the narratives that define our world, one nickel at a time. The next great discovery might be closer than you think. Keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a single coin. Because in the end, it's not just about the money. It's about the journey, the mystery, and the history you choose to hold on to. You reach into your pocket, pull out a handful of change, and sort through the dull, metallic discs that pass through our hands every day. Most of them are just metal worth exactly 5 cents, a trivial token of our modern economy. But what if I told you that hidden in that mundane pile, there could be a ghost? A piece of history so bizarre, so technically impossible, that it has driven collectors to hunt through billions of coins just to catch a glimpse of its shadow. We're talking about the 1964 Jefferson Nickel. On the surface, it's a coin that seems common enough. But there is a secret buried in its minting process. A mystery that bridges the gap between a standard piece of pocket change and a 5-figure fortune. To understand why this specific coin can send shivers down a seasoned collector's spine, we have to travel back to 1964. America was at a turning point. The nation was gripped by a severe coin shortage. The economy was booming, and suddenly, there weren't enough pennies, dimes, or nickels to go around. People were hoarding silver, vending machines were devouring coins, and the U.S. Mint was spiraling into a panic. To combat the crisis, Congress did something desperate. They authorized a date freeze. The Mint was ordered to keep striking coins with the 1964 date long after the year had ended. They were working day and night, pushing the machinery to its absolute limits, using worn-out dies and exhausted equipment. It was a frantic, high-pressure environment where quality control became a secondary concern to sheer volume. Over 2 billion nickels were pumped out. But in that chaos, mistakes were made. And in the world of numismatics, a mistake is where the true value lies. You might have heard whispers of a no Monticello nickel. You look at your coin, turn it over, and there it is. Thomas Jefferson's Virginia estate, bold as life on the reverse. But let's say your coin is different. Let's say you're looking at a strike so botched, so off-center, or so dramatically misaligned that the design itself seems to be sliding off the planchet. This is the hunt. Collectors aren't just looking for a 1964 nickel. They are looking for the anomalies born from that frantic 1965-era production overload. Some of these coins are broad strikes, where the coin was minted outside the retaining collar, causing the metal to spread out like a pancake, the design floating on an oversized, deformed disc. Others are clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal sheet was cut incorrectly before it even hit the press, leaving a moon-shaped void on the edge of the coin. But the real holy grail? It's the special mint set specimens. These weren't supposed to exist. They were discovered decades later, featuring a finish so sharp, so satin smooth, and so unnaturally detailed that they don't look like they came from a dusty assembly line. They look like they were pulled from the future. These coins have sold for over $30,000 at auction. Think about that for a second. A nickel that could pay off a student loan, buy a reliable used car, or fund a life-changing vacation, all hiding in a jar of spare change. What makes these coins truly emotional is the human element. Each one represents a moment of human error amidst a national crisis. A tired worker at the Philadelphia or Denver Mint, a machine pushed too hard, a die that should have been retired months ago. These are the things that transformed a simple nickel into a piece of rare, tangible history. Every time you flip a 1964 nickel over, you aren't just looking at Thomas Jefferson. You're looking at the ghost of a desperate time in American history, frozen in copper and nickel. So, how do you know if you've struck gold? It starts with the eyes. Do you have a jeweler's loupe? You need to look for the full steps. On the reverse of the coin at the base of Monticello are the steps leading to the entrance. If you can count 5 or 6 distinct, razor-sharp lines without them bleeding together, you've found something special. If the coin has a D mint mark, you need to check for a doubled die. Look closely at the lettering or the date. If the numbers or letters look like they've been printed twice, slightly offset, you might be holding a variation that collectors fight over. But the most important thing to look for is the anomaly. Is it off-center? Is the rim missing? Is the metal itself an odd color or weight? If it looks wrong, it might just be the most right coin in your collection. History isn't always found in museums behind velvet ropes. Sometimes it's buried in the couch cushions, sitting in a dusty piggy bank in your attic. It's waiting for someone with enough patience to look past the dirt and the dullness to see the potential for a fortune. The 1964 nickel is a reminder that value isn't always what's printed on the face of an object. Sometimes value is measured in the mistakes, the rarity, and the stories we uncover along the way. So, tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss those coins aside. Take a closer look. You never know when you might be holding a piece of history that's worth a whole lot more than 5 cents. What is the most valuable or strangest coin you've ever found in your spare change? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden treasures, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because the next time we dive into a coin, it might be the one you're holding right now.